welcome you, all of our viewers in the United States and around the world. I always want to start with appreciation and gratitude. So nothing can happen, nothing of significance happens alone. So I want to thank all of my volunteers, all of you out there who are helping, spreading the word and spending your time and effort and energy helping us put these programs on. Comerica Bank for your long-term financial support. AE Media Group that makes us look good on social media and does all the videoing and the pictures and the flyers. So I want to thank you, and also thank you for spending time with us today to hear about the 3 vital questions. So with that being said, I'm just going to jump right to it. I'm here with a leadership expert, an executive coach, and a business owner of Vaughan Herold. Her name is Jennifer Herold, and she is the leadership expert. She's a certified facilitator when it comes to the 3 vital questions. And without any further ado, we're just going to jump right into it. And Jennifer, I want to thank you so much for you spending your time and precious resource with us today, right?
Thanks for having me. It's a privilege to be here.
Yeah, well, the Empower Series, you just heard about the Empower Series recently.
Yeah.
And so I always think if you're just now hearing about it, we're not doing a good job of getting the word out, right?
There's a lot of noise in the market, so.
But I am so glad that
good stuff like this is cutting through.
Yeah, I'm so glad you made the time, because we have a community here that really needs to hear what you're bringing to the table. Now, you have a lot of years of experience teaching leaders and courageous leaders. We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
From an executive coach standpoint, you lead teams, you help people really become self-mastery of themselves, because the first person you can lead is really you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Work on yourself first, work on yourself hardest.
So tell us a little bit about your business and what you do before we get into the 3 vital questions.
Sure, yeah. So I have my own coaching practice here in Dallas. It's leadership and executive coaching. I say it's coaching for courageous leaders. Because doing our own work is hard. It can be scary sometimes, and it takes a commitment to look at ourselves and to challenge our mental models, ways that we've kind of seen the world for so many years, and being able to let go of that sometimes and face the things that are sometimes getting in our own way, the ways we're getting in our own way. And man, the leaders that embrace that, they transform themselves, their families, their organizations, and it is so much fun to be a part of that journey.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really blessed that I get to, I count it a privilege that I get to do this work every day.
Well, there's a couple of things. Les Brown, you've heard of Les Brown, right?
Yep.
So Les Brown always says, he coached a lot of people, helped a lot of people change, but he says the most difficult person he's ever had to coach change is himself, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I joke a lot that, as we'll probably see as we talk today, is we teach what we need to learn. So
oh my gosh, yes.
So I have the opportunity to learn over and over again.
So if something's coming up in front of you all the time, you're thinking, okay, what am I supposed to be learning here, right?
Yeah. And I've got to make sense of it and integrate it in a way so that I actually saw this amazing pyramid on LinkedIn the other day that talks about the level of retention and integration with things that we learn. And the by far most significant way of retaining what we learn and integrating is by teaching others.
Oh, okay.
So I get to practice that a lot.
Yeah, the other thing I heard is that a lot of times as advisors, because we all give advice. If we have kids, we're giving advice. Sometimes we give advice to our friends. But when you're giving somebody advice, they say there's 2 people that you're really helping out. Yeah. The person that you're talking to and yourself.
Yep.
So you really have, every now and then I ask myself, so what advice have I given people that I need to really slow down, be quiet, and listen to myself and apply?
Absolutely. That is a path to self-mastery for sure.
Yeah. So how long have you had your business?
So I've had my own practice for about 4.5 years. My husband and I moved here to Dallas in 2015.
Okay.
And I decided, I don't know anybody here. This is a great time to start a business.
Right.
So that was a fun adventure, but I had been in coaching back in the Atlanta area prior to that.
Okay.
And prior to getting into coaching, I spent about 15 years in the corporate world in B2B marketing with some large companies. And so it's fun also because when I'm sitting with clients a lot of times that work in businesses, they know I've sat in their seat before.
So that's interesting. So you started a business when you first moved here.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when people start businesses, they always say it's not the ideal time to start where the economy is down, or like in your situation, you're not having a network of existing clients.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how did you really start acquiring clients? Because there's probably some other people watching right now that want to start a consulting business, but they feel like they just don't know where to go. So share with me a little bit about how did you get that started in a new city?
So one, it's all about relationship building, and I'm not a big proponent of networking per se. I really, I know that it's an important part of work is sitting down and having conversations, but when I get to that place, I want to understand people and connect with people. So I feel I do that in a very genuine way because like one of my favorite things to do is take Uber to the airport and learn about the Uber drivers.
Oh, you do that?
So much fun. There's amazing stories in the world, and I want to hear them.
That is true.
And so if but I will tell you, it was a bit unusual for me. I didn't necessarily know that I was going to start my own business here in Dallas. I kind of been playing with the idea of it. But the day before I left Atlanta, I had a friend that sat down and said, "Hey, once you get to Dallas and start your own practice, give me a shout. Maybe we can do some work together." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then on the drive out on I-20, I got a call from a former client that I had worked with, and he said, "Hey, once you get to Dallas, get settled, and set up your business, you know, I want to do some work with you." I was like, all right. And then like a week or so after I'd been here, same conversation with somebody else that I met brand new, and they said, "Once you set up your business," and I had not told a soul that I was starting my business. I was like, okay, I got it.
Yeah, the universe was doing something for you,
I heard
right?
the message that it was time for me to do something that I was really scared to do.
Yeah.
Because what if I fail, and what if I don't get but like one client, and how far is that really going to take me? And so for me, the whole process is about doing the next right thing, paying attention to the work that I need to do on myself in order to do well for my clients, following up and having the scary conversations, knowing that I didn't die on the other side of humiliation or embarrassment or a no. So it's been an intentional journey for me of not just getting business, but getting the right business, working with the right people that want to do the work. And so I've been very fortunate in that regard that I've had a lot of people that have come around me and supported me in that journey in a lot of different ways.
So you mentioned something, and you didn't spend a lot of time on it though, but you mentioned that when you came here and people were calling you and saying they wanted to work with you, you said you mentioned something about your fear and your doubt. So they look at you right now and they'll say, "Man, a successful business owner, woman business owner, you got all these clients." But they don't see the process that you went through.
No.
And they don't see the internal work.
It's constantly internal.
And some of the courageous steps are being somewhat transparent, even with your clients to a certain extent, so that they can really understand that you're talking from a position, you're talking with them as opposed to, I'm up here and I'm trying to reach down and pull you up.
Right.
It's like we're human beings, we're on the same level, and we struggle with this every day. So every day is an intention. To wake up and be intentional about what it is you want to manifest and put in this world.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I think I've we talked earlier about how we get in our own way, and I certainly know some of the ways I can get in my own way. And one of those is just this idea that I've got to have it all figured out first, and that it's got to be fully baked and have all the business plan and the funding and all the clients lined up, and then you just unlock the door and everything goes. And it can't be that way, or you'll never start anything. I know I wouldn't start anything. I had to let go of that idea that it was going to be perfect. And so I'm a big proponent of progress, not perfection. And so you just got to do the next right thing, but listening to that intuitive voice, quieting ourselves enough to listen to that intuitive voice and seeking wise counsel of those around us. That's for me what's given me clarity on what that next right thing is.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you a question about the Empower series. It's like a test, right? So you never heard about the Empower series before we connected, and we connected through your future daughter-in-law. Putting that out there, right? She would, I know. So we connected, and then when you heard about the Empower series, did you do any kind of research to find out what type of organization we were before you've come here today to talk?
Yeah, so I really, I did a little bit before you and I hopped on the phone, and I more than anything, I just spent time listening to you and your heart and your passion for this. And so I don't, I was real tempted to watch all the YouTube videos. And then I just thought, you know what? I want to come and have a conversation with Clifton. And I want to be me and do me, and you do you. And so I really just didn't want to be swayed by anything other than listening to your heart and your passion for this work. And so that's what's been, that was inspiring to me.
Well, I'm glad. You can go back and watch the videos later,
Oh, you
right?
know I will.
So here's the thing, though. So I have this idea about the Empower series, and it's very simple. And as we said, the Empower series is not about, we've arrived and we're teaching people who have not arrived. Right. It's like we're in this journey together. So this is what I find that I need every day. I need hope. Yes. I need hope that whatever my dreams, whatever I envision can happen, because my vision is so different than where I'm at today, right? Yeah. And then I need, oh my gosh, it's like, we'll get into a deep conversation when we talk about the 3 vital questions. Right. Then the second thing is, be inspired to take action. So whatever step, you don't have to wait till it's perfect, but whatever idea you have, take some kind of action, continually educate yourself, and then get connected to the resources that are around. There's some existing resources that we just don't know about, and the universe is conspiring to help you. So those are the 4 things. It's hope, inspiration, education, and connection to resources. And every event that we do, whether it's a lunch and learn, a workshop, these podcasts, we want to make sure that we're delivering that to the people who are watching. And when we talked about the 3 vital questions, and I want you to give us some background on those things, because when I started looking into it, I never knew what they were. But I saw that aligns so much with the Empower series.
Yeah, absolutely. As you and I began talking, I just thought, man, these tools have been powerful in my life. I see it's one that my clients gravitate towards because it's easy to get, and it is motivated towards action as well. So
the workshop, it's a workshop where you go deep into this, right? How long is a workshop usually?
Well, we can do up to a 2-day deep dive, but I slice and dice it all kinds of different ways depending on what the company needs, and so sometimes I'll just do it in one-on-one coaching with my clients. I'll share with them the framework, and then other times I can, I've done half days, full days, 2 days.
So people probably don't even know what we're talking about. Right. So how can you put it into a digestible pill? Absolutely. And explain what are the 3 vital questions?
Absolutely. So there is some amazing work that David Emerald has done. He wrote a book originally called The Power of TED. And TED is not to be confused with the TED series,
TED Talks?
TEDx, TED Talks, all that stuff. It's different than that. So TED stands for the empowerment dynamic.
Empower series, empowerment dynamic. The universe is talking, right? Okay.
And so he wrote this book that's really written as a fable. It's a story of a man going through a process, a situation in his life where these different people come in, and this guy Ted, ironically, comes in and speaks to him and teaches him some ways to maybe reframe what's going on for him. And then in the last couple of years, 2 years ago, I believe, David released another book called 3 Vital Questions, which is this work kind of reframed in a business context. Okay. And so great books, David Emerald. I would highly recommend anybody purchase them on wherever books are sold. Right. But I've read the books, and I got to know David and his wife Donna, who just do amazing work in the world, leveraging this content, and it's simple practices that we can incorporate in our everyday life. And so as they did some research and piggyback on the research of others, it's amazing some of the statistics around how drama, specifically 3 Vital Questions, is about transforming workplace drama. And so this idea that drama exists in the workplace, I know it comes at a shock to a lot of people.
Well, it's not just the workplace. Exactly. We got some drama in people's lives.
We got drama, right? So there's all kinds of drama, and it's so easy to get sucked into it. It's a little tempting, Sometimes it feels juicy, and and so there are some amazing stats that one that blew me away was up to 40% of a manager's time is spent on drama.
Wow.
What are we paying our managers for?
It's like it's the drama between individuals and people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Well, yes, and well, I'll get to that in a minute. So absolutely, there's just, and it just festers oftentimes in workplace environments. There's another stat that says that I found online that it's up to 2 hours per employee per day is spent on drama. So we talk about so many times in our organizations lack of productivity, people aren't getting stuff done, but how much time is spent on the well, she didn't and he didn't and they don't and all that stuff. And so if we just cut that in half, think about how much more productive we can be, let alone happier, right? So there's some soft costs to dramas, silos and kind of back channeling and not working well together and eroding trust and
lack of motivation, employees not engaged,
right.
not productivity,
Absolutely.
Errors and mistakes.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
So, we take this framework and look, we don't walk in the door of our house and leave our work self at home and vice versa, right? We're people. People are people. And while it manifests in different ways in the office and at home, it's who we are and it's how we're wired. And so many years ago, there was a guy named Stephen Cartman that developed the theory of the drama triangle, and it's the way that kind of people relate in their lives to situations going on. And so David has some amazing insights around that and has evolved that to what's our choice? Instead of being in drama, what are our choice? And it is the empowerment dynamic. So that's kind of built into the framework as well. So I want to pause there before I start taking off down the whole.
So when you think about it, are there 3 specific questions that kind of take you through a journey of this power dynamic?
Yep.
What are the 3 questions?
Yes. Okay. So first and foremost is, where is my focus? Where is your focus?
Okay, where's the focus?
Okay. So our options in that is my focus on a problem, the thing ultimately what I don't want. Whenever anybody's complaining about anything, there's something they care about behind it. Think about any time that you've had a complaint about a boss or a loved one or whatever. It's because there's something that you do care about behind that you do want. Right. And so are you focusing on the problem, or are you focusing on the outcome? Are you thinking about the thing that you do want, that you do want to create, that you do want to be a part of?
So another way of saying is that, are we focusing on the now and how we're perceiving the person today? Are we focusing on the vision of what we want for the future?
Yeah,
right? Is that another way of looking at it?
It is, for sure. And I think that's a piece of it. And I also like to bring it into the here and now. So so this model, it's called Fizz B. So where's your focus? What's your inner state? And what steps are you taking? Or behavior.
So the 3 questions are, what are your focus?
Okay, the second question is, how are you relating? And the third question is, what actions are you taking? So there's, within each question, there's
some
3 kind of buckets. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the first question again is, what is your focus?
Where is your focus? Is it on the problem? And the thing that's really interesting about that, when we're focused on the problem, what happens for you on the inside when you're focused on a problem?
It's not good, because I'm tense. I'm like thinking, I can't think past the problem. I can't think of the solution.
Yeah.
I'm like in the mix of grinding.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just not I'm like this.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So
I'm holding on to the problem. I'm not letting go of it.
Right. So there's some anxiety or frustration or resistance to it, right? And so then we don't want to feel that thing. And so we take action to no longer feel that thing, right? We don't want to feel the anxiety. And so we have this kind of false assumption that what we're doing is we're solving the problem, but what we're doing is trying to solve our anxiety about the problem.
Okay.
And so the power of emotional intelligence, emotional literacy, emotional agility, whatever language you want to put to it, is recognizing what's going on for me in here and what is it that I'm trying to fight against, right?
Gotcha.
It's that inner state. And so when we look at an outcome versus a problem, it's more fueled by passion and joy and a grounded or centeredness that I'm moving towards something that I do want, and I have choices about the steps I'm going to take to get to that. So I can sit down and think about, all right, coming into our time together, at the end of our hour having this conversation, what do I want to be able to say about it? That's an outcome, right?
Okay.
I want to say that we connected, that we had some joyful conversation and provided some things, meaningful tools that might help other people.
So putting this into some other practical examples.
Sure.
What is your focus? And so we talk about that from an Empower Series standpoint. A lot of times we talk about financial literacy, and people are either not managing their finances right, they're not able to save, they're in debt, they're not in the position of financial stability that they would like to be.
Yeah.
And so if you focus on that as a problem,
Right.
then you're not getting anything good.
Right, and you're feeding. Often these are all the
right.
reasons why I can't get out of the thing I want to get out of. We have some very real circumstances, right? I don't ever want to be ignorant or dismissive of the fact that there's real circumstances, but we always have a choice.
And you look at the outcome. So when you're in the midst of this, let's say you're mired in debt, you're not able to pay all your minimum credit card balances or payments.
Right.
But when you say, where do I want to go?
Yeah.
You got to kind of shift. You got to get out of what I call believing in the presence of now.
Yeah.
And I think there's another person talked about you got to believe in your future state, because the outcome is not where you are today, but you've got to believe in that because that's real.
Yeah.
And believe in that regardless of where you are today.
Absolutely.
Is that what step number one is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, and I think very aligned with what you're doing is, so when we're outcome oriented and we have that groundedness, then, and it circles back to the conversation we were having a minute ago, is then I take baby steps towards the outcome, not towards squashing the problem and feeding the beast of where I don't want to be, but I know I'm taking a positive step towards the thing that I do want to create.
Okay, so let me be transparent with y'all now.
Do it.
So you know, obviously your environment is a reflection of your mind.
Yeah.
My friends will look at my place and I'm like, there's so much stuff I have to do. I don't have time to get it done, right?
Yeah.
And so when I look at my place, it's just a state of disorder. And so if I focus on that, that I don't solve it, right? But now if I focus on seeing myself being orderly and my place being clean, things being where they need to be, and I'm not spending so much time looking for my keys.
Right.
If I envision that and say, okay, now what is the first step? Let me just start with cleaning the kitchen. Let me start with cleaning the bathroom. Let's take little steps.
Instead of spending a whole day.
And I don't have to do the whole house in the same day, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I'm going to see this thing and pick it up.
Okay.
And put it in the right place. Right. And so, you know, and one of the things that I want to kind of clarify is that there is a difference between a goal and an outcome, right? We might have to hit milestones to get to our outcome, but oftentimes our goals are problem statements in disguise. And our problem statements often are about the things we don't want. So I want to lose 20 pounds. It makes my body the problem. I want to live a healthy and balanced life.
That's the outcome, right?
That's my outcome, right? And then what choices do I make? It might involve losing weight. It might, but it's likely going to be, I'm going to make choices about what I eat at this meal. Just this meal. I'm just going to make a choice about what I eat this meal.
Okay.
And so it's, when it's something we can be motivated that's more fulfilling, I find for myself in my own life, I have a lot more passion, a lot more likelihood of taking the next step. Because sometimes the next step in the firefighting of the problem fixing world feels like really hard, heavy steps and things I don't want to do.
A friend of mine said one time that you can't guilt somebody into doing something that's in their best interest.
Yeah.
Or that's good for you,
Right.
Like you need, I think she worked at the time for the American Heart Association and talked about campaigns of, you know, all this negative stuff is going to happen to you if you don't take care of your heart. That's trying to guilt you into it, as opposed to, like you said, coming up with outcomes that are more positive than what you want.
Yep.
And then what are the steps you can take to achieve it? So what it is you focus on grows.
Yes.
And if you're focused on some negativity, that's going to grow in your life.
Absolutely.
So it's like Norman Vincent Peale, you know, the power of positive thinking.
Yeah.
I think, you know, people don't understand there's some power in that, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, think about, like, and I think the thing that we're not always told, at least earlier in our lives, is that we always have a choice. we have a choice to choose our thoughts and what we focus on. We often sometimes feel so beholden to that. And I know that I catch myself sometimes, I'm like, oh, I can choose something different.
You know, speaking about that, there's this whole triangle I've seen where we talk about events happen to us, and one process that events mean nothing until we put meaning to the event.
It's only the meaning we add to it.
And that's our choice, right?
Yep.
And then once we put that meaning to the event, then it becomes whatever we say it is.
Yep.
But we don't realize that when things happen, we immediately feel something and think something, and we don't slow down to realize that there's a choice in what we think.
Absolutely.
And then that creates the feeling, and so if we are slowing down enough to pause and say, okay, where is my state of mind?
Yep.
Let me slow down and just realize that there are other choices, even though I may not see what they are today, believe that there are other choices you can make.
Absolutely.
Even if you can't understand what they are
well,
today.
Gosh, I just had this image pop in my head as you were saying that. Like if that pause practice is so powerful. Just to take a minute. There's this amazing work, like science around the brain now, and they've done these PET imaging scans where they kind of put them in a stress state and then tested their brain. And so there's a certain part of the brain that lights up red, I believe. And then they have them do 3 deep, like diaphragmatic breaths. And that part of the brain that it was in stress cooled down to a blue, which means it's no longer in stress. Right. 3 breaths. I mean, how many of us have time for 3 breaths each day just to make that choice? And so this image came into my head of like somebody at home, a mom or a dad with kids running around and making a noise, and when it's like it's real easy to see the kids as a problem. And that's an issue. And so in those moments, just take a couple of deep breaths and so, okay, what is the thing I want? I want to have a fun, joyful evening in my time with my kids. It's limited and I want it to be fun. So I'm going to choose to see them not as a problem, but as a joy. And those are, we always have that choice.
But we're kind of glossing over this because we don't have a lot of time.
Right.
but that's some deep stuff though, because we're so habitual. Like I can think about some relationships I've had where they weren't as I intended them to be. Yeah. But a lot of that was because of my focus. Yeah. And I didn't really sit back, pause, and say, okay, what do I want out of this relationship? What can it be? And regardless of where we are today, what steps can I take in the direction of where I want it to go? Yeah. And believe that it can get there.
And we often see other people as the problem, and it's hard to look at which actually will take us right to our second question.
Okay.
So the second question is, how are you relating? And so I mentioned Stephen Cartman's drama triangle earlier. So it's this ways of relating that we kind of operate in the world. And so the first triangle, so imagine an upside down triangle. Okay. And at the bottom, there's a victim. And so I want to be really clear that we're not talking about people that are victims of crime and abuse and very terrible thing, right? So that's a very real thing. We're talking about the mindset of victimhood. So there's victimization and there's victimhood. So living in this state of, I've been put upon, I've been wronged, it's not my fault.
Blaming, it's not your fault, is it?
It's not my fault and there's nothing I can do about it.
Gotcha, okay. Yeah, right? I'm weak, I don't have power.
Right, powerless, absolutely powerless. And so within that triangle, then there's also a persecutor. So if I'm powerless and something's happened to me, a person or a situation has persecuted me. Right, power over, absolutely. So it can be an illness, it can be a life circumstance, it can be a boss, it can be a significant other, it can be a kid, it can be so many different things. But we see that person or that thing as the thing that is kind of persecuting us. Okay. And then the other dynamic in there is the rescuer. And so we're always either looking to be rescued or looking to rescue someone else. And so that's the one in every group. People are like, oh yes, I'm the rescuer, because there's like this nobility to it. And so like people are super proud of it.
You think you're the problem, right?
But it's ultimately rooted in this need to be needed. Yeah. Right? And seeing the victim as powerless, and oftentimes is inserting themselves into a situation to try and fix it, where they actually take more power away from the victim. And so without getting into all the stuff, we can take on any role, any given time, and we can circulate in our own head about all three.
Wow.
Right? So we rescue ourselves. Flight, fight, freeze, right? We want to get out of a situation, or there's ways that we numb, right? So alcohol, drugs, sex, shopping, Netflix, right? There's ways that we try to escape feeling the things that we don't want to feel, kind of coming back to that, what's going on with our emotions.
Yeah.
And so that's where we get into rescuing ourselves. And so we have an option. We have an option to move towards something that's more empowering. So instead of a victim, you're a creator. It means you're able to create the thing you want to be a part of, create the life you want to lead, create choice in the situation that you're in. We always have a choice as to how we relate to things. And instead of a persecutor, there's a challenger. So you may have a tendency to, I don't get this to be true, but you may have the tendency to take on that persecutor role. But if you do, you have a choice as to say, do I see the other person as capable? I can still push them and challenge them productively and believing that they're capable of doing more. It might require some tough conversations, but I'm going to do it because I believe that they're capable. I'm going to move them towards a more positive outcome. And instead of a rescuer, there's a coach. And that's leaving the power in the hands of the creator, leaving the hands and the power of the person that you have a tendency to want to rescue. I have a tendency to want to rescue. And for me, it's about asking the right questions, getting really curious, and allowing them to make their decision to get to the next right thing, and so that they know that they can do it. And
okay. So we've got the victim.
Yep.
The persecutor, and the rescuer,
Yep.
right? And the rescuer could be a coach, should be converted to be a coach.
You flip the
right.
triangle, yep.
And then the persecutor could be the challenger, right?
Yep.
Is that what you said?
Correct.
And then the victim is going to be who now?
So the victim's now a creator.
Creator. Oh,
It's a creator. So I don't have a choice. This has happened to me. I have choice. I can make a difference. Yes, I have power to create the thing that I want to exist.
Which is my choice of focus, my choice of how to look
Absolutely.
at things. Right.
And there's hope in that, and there's vision in that.
Right.
Right? Think about the mindset shift when we feel like we can do something about it, even if it's a small thing.
So check this out. So we're talking about this, and this is all intellectual.
Yeah.
Some people are following this. Some people have to look at this again.
Yes,
I got you.
it's a lot.
I'm going to have to look at this again, right?
It was a lot, yeah.
But we're looking at how do people, they can understand it, but then how do you implement something like this? We're going to talk about we're going to keep the third question till later, but even with what we talked about today, it is so deep. Like you said, you can do a deep dive to a week seminar on this.
Probably could, yeah.
But because I can imagine, okay, I understand, but how do you do it?
Yeah. So the next question is, what steps are you taking? And so this one is the most practical piece of all of it, because I'm big on moving theory to practice, right? How do we take what we've learned and move it into action?
Did I just tee up that next
You
question?
did. You're doing a beautiful job here, man.
Hey, look, we didn't even coach that. All right.
So you didn't need notes. Okay, so what steps are we taking? And when we think about the steps we want to take, are we reacting, right, to the drama, to the feelings, the anxiety, the frustration? Or are we being intentional about the steps we're taking that are moving us towards our desired outcome? And so I think truthfully, the hardest part of this is getting clear on what is the thing we do want, the desired outcome. Yeah. I tell groups all the time, if we're going through this worksheet, if we have 15 minutes and you got to spend all your time in one area, spend it on the desired outcome. Get clear on what it is you want.
Yeah, they say that all the time, get a very clear vision, crystal clear. And the challenge is that, like, what's his name? Zig Ziglar says, people are walking around as wondering generalities as opposed to a meaningful specific. Yeah. So the clearer you can get on your outcome, which is where the hard work is sometimes, that's the foundational work, right?
And it's the most worthwhile work. Yeah. Okay. And so that to me, I have seen when I get clear on my desired outcome, it guides my steps. I make better choices about how I react and respond when the pressure's on, when things are hard, when I want to react and lash out or make a snarky comment or something like that, or get huffy about something. when I'm clear on my desired outcome going into something, then I make different choices about how I kind of relate to the situation and the person that I'm with to move towards that desired outcome. That might, there's small little micro choices that we make all the time that can move us in one direction or another. And so when I spend that time on that desired outcome, there's a whole process that we walk people through. It's an action planning worksheet, but it's basically, okay, if I had it, how would I know it? What could get in the way of it? So be very realistic about, we got to do some truth telling here about what could get in the way. We're not unrealistic about real life things, but also we got to pay attention to what could support it. Sometimes we don't always look around at what supports us. The people, the systems, available resources online, and otherwise, right? So there's so much great stuff. All the videos that you guys have here, this is a great resource for people to take the next step in their financial journey, financial wellness journey. And so then based on that, what do I need to start, stop, keep, or change? And then let's just list 3 very concrete baby steps. What am I going to do and by when? And it might just be, I'm going to pick up the phone and call Clifton and ask him some questions. Or I'm going to watch the next video. They don't have to be these big, grand, life-changing things. It's one choice at a time, and that's where we get to where we want to be.
And it's not like you need a lot of money. So there are people,
absolutely,
you can go out and pay for a coach, which is great if you have the resources for it.
Right.
But if you're sitting here and you're thinking, I don't have nothing to my name, right? There's a gentleman who came to an Empower series while he was sleeping in his car going to college, right?
Awesome.
And we never want to be in that situation, but he felt even at that time, he was inspired to keep going. Now he graduated from college. He's taking his LSAT to go to law school.
That's awesome.
But he had to, every minute sometimes, really refocus on what is my desired outcome.
Yes.
And what should I do now, even though this is not going to get me immediately there, but it's going to take me progressively to that step. I talked to him and I said, what's your biggest challenge? What is the one thing that I don't know about you and nobody would know? And he said, it's a struggle every day to stay on the right course of his vision, as opposed to going back to these habitual habits that are easy for us to fall into.
Yeah, that's powerful.
So my question for you is along the lines of resources, right?
Yeah.
So you do work and you have a certain type of client. So we say executive coaching means that it's not staff accountant coaching, it's executive, right?
Well, I think
extent.
that term has also expanded quite a bit. So I lean more on the leadership side of coaching.
Okay.
Just because I believe everybody's a leader. Brene Brown has this amazing definition of a leader, and it's someone that can see the potential in people or process and has the courage to develop that potential. It's really easy. Some people don't see the potential, right? We don't see what could be.
Yeah.
Some people can see it and just complain about why it doesn't work and whose fault it is. And the courageous leader, the true leader, sees an opportunity and says, I'm going to do something about it. I may not solve the whole thing, but I'm going to start down that path and figure out how we get there. And so I believe that anybody at any level of the organization can be a leader. I work with people at all levels of an organization when I work with teams, and I believe that everybody can have an impact. We're leaders in our homes, we're leaders in our communities, in our churches. Everybody, I believe, has leadership in them if they choose to access it.
Yeah, so as you were talking about that, I was thinking about the term intentional leader versus unintentional leader. I think my belief is that we're all leaders.
Yep.
And my definition is that to the extent that you have influence on other people, you're leading in some way or another.
Absolutely.
So there are people who don't know they have influence.
Yeah.
And I can even think
and that's generally the not so good.
Right. But I would tell you, so even myself, when I was growing up in high school, I was very shy. I didn't really talk to anybody because I felt like if I met you on the street and I said hello and you said hi back, then I'm thinking, where do we go from here? Let me just keep my head down and keep going, keep it moving. So my thought was, when I was playing football, I just was focusing on myself. And there was an article written about me. He said, Clifton Johnson leads by example. But I wasn't an intentional leader. So I wasn't leading to bring out the best in other people. I was just managing myself, right? So I think to a certain extent, everybody's a leader, like you said. But if you're not aware of it or intentional, you could be leading people in a not empowering way.
Absolutely.
You know, and it starts with you. Because if you're not doing the things yourself that is keeping you focused and achieving your goals, then you're probably not giving inspiration and hope to other people who are looking up to you.
Absolutely.
That you're not aware of.
Yeah, that we always, again, it comes back to choice, right? When we're paying attention and doing our own work.
Yeah.
The I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but just the impact grows. And it's funny, I'll find myself those days when I'm like really centered in that and I'm positive and I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
And I go into the grocery store and like it comes back to me. Just somebody passing me in the aisle.
Yeah.
It'll say something kind or, hey, I love your sunglasses or whatever, you know, something silly, but I just, that energy when we live intentionally and with positivity, I don't know, I see it come back to me tenfold.
Yeah. You know, I think it's interesting too, because when you were talking about the third step of what step, or third question, what steps do you take?
Yep.
And then what does it look like?
Yep.
Like these questions to me sometimes, it takes work to answer them.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of times, you know, I'm thinking, man, I don't want to do the work. But you got to do the work if you really want the results. If you don't do the work, then you get what you're getting, which is not really a fulfilled life.
Yeah, you get out of it what you put into it.
So going back to what I was getting to, is if someone doesn't have money to go buy a book or to go hire a coach, and they like what we're talking about and they want to get more information, I have some ideas as where to go, but I want to hear from you. How would you advise somebody who couldn't really pay for your services, but you want to, if they're willing to do the work, they can get access to the resources? What would you advise of them?
Oh my gosh, I spend so much time listening to podcasts and listening to, I just feel like I'm a sponge in terms of learning from others. And, you know, there's a couple of schools of thought, like go really deep on one thing and get really good at it, which I get as well. And for me, other people bring alive some core concepts with new language that's really helpful for me. The amount of available resources online now are endless. So, I mean, I really, and those are all, I mean, free stuff on YouTube or on
YouTube University,
podcasts or,
right?
yeah. I mean, there's so much great stuff out there. And I can't speak as much to the kind of financial realm, but I just, from a personal development stuff, Brene Brown she's my girl, love her to death. There's, Michael Gervais is one that I'm listening to, and he talks about finding mastery. And they're just very motivating stories, but it's getting into our internal workings on what drives us and what motivates us and pulling that out so that we're making intentional choices. So I think there's just so much good stuff online. I'd be happy to send you some links of some of my favorites.
I'll tell you, the Empower series is more than just financial literacy, and you alluded to this because our mission, or our vision, right? Our vision is imagine a world where everybody is thriving. And they're succeeding one way or another. And the way Earl Nightingale defined success is by progressively realizing a worthy ideal. So everybody can progressively realizing a worthy ideal. So when they think of success, it's like you have a goal. Like a lot of times you spend the majority of your time not at your goal, but on the way to it, progressively realizing it, right? And so that means anybody can be successful. If you want to be a student that graduates from high school, then you can be successful because you're progressively doing that. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a nurse, or if you want to be a teacher, you don't have to be like a football player or an actor winning the Heisman Trophy, winning the Oscar, to say, oh, I've finally been successful. If you're progressively realizing what you have decided is important to you, that you've envisioned, you've gotten really clear on your outcome, and if you're progressively achieving that, then you're successful. So we envision a whole world, everybody has access to that. So our mission is to inspire people to thrive. And that's not just in financial literacy, but that's in every aspect of their life. Because it's all possible.
It's all connected too.
So we definitely do financial literacy. We do personal development workshops. And everything we do, no matter what it is, it's kind of like pointing to this whole thing to where you've got power inside of you. You just don't know it.
Yep.
It's like if the jewel is in a house, everything that's around you, I think Kobe said one time, he said once you get very clear, or once he got very clear on what he wanted to become, the whole world was his library. Everything helped him become better at what he wanted to do. And so I feel like if people become very clear on the first question of what they want, everything that's happening is pointing you to how do you access that. So there's different ways of going inside the house. You can go to the front door, the window, the chimney.
Absolutely.
Like there's all these different ways,
Yeah.
right? So don't get bent on this is the only way to have access to what it is I'm looking for.
Yep.
So with that being said, we talk about personal development, free resources. There's free
Yes.
resources for financial literacy as well.
Yeah.
FDIC has something called Money Smart, which is a free online financial literacy educational program.
Cool.
They provide curriculum for not just adults, but young adults, adolescents,
That's great.
older adults, elderly, small businesses,
Yep.
and all of the curriculum is free.
Yeah,
But people don't know that.
that's cool.
So when you talk about schools not teaching financial literacy, school doesn't have to teach it.
Yeah.
If you're looking for it, you can find it.
You can find it.
And
Yeah.
almost every bank has some financial literacy for people that they don't have to pay for.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing that, to your point, there are free resources out there for personal development, for anything that you're looking for. And another friend of mine, his name is Jeff Clanagan. He's the founder of Code Black, a division of Liongate. And he came and spoke at the Empower Series. He mentioned that when people came to him and was asking for his advice, if they had an I don't know, he wouldn't spend time with them because he said,
Yeah.
information is free.
Yeah.
Like, come to me with what you want, and then I
Yes.
will help you. But don't come to me with a I don't know.
Right.
Because if you're not willing to do the work to find,
Yeah.
then like have an idea. So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, my brain is popping with so many, there's just so much good stuff out there. And tools to help kids. So a friend of mine developed an app called Figgable, fig like a fig tree, Figgable. And it's about raising kind and responsible kids.
Wow.
And so it's an app to help kids understand that their financial choices, like the ways that they earn money or get allowance or all that kind of stuff, is and how they manage that. So there's tools for managing that and for teaching kids that, but also there's a lot of inputs for their behavior. And so you might have done this chore, but you treated your brother poorly, and so you don't get the money because you did the chore and treated somebody poorly in the
Gotcha.
process. And so there's some really cool life lessons around that. So Figgable is a really neat app.
That's
And
cool.
creates great conversation pieces for parents with their kids.
That's neat. That's
Yeah.
neat. So what age group is it? Is it all age groups or a certain
Yeah, I would
range?
say up to 18 because there's
Wow.
evolution in the kinds of content that you can leverage and the things that you ask of your kids based on their age groups. And there's a lot of prompts in there. She's built a beautiful app. Yeah.
So there's somebody who's watching this who's thinking, I want to get in touch with you.
Okay.
So how do they get in touch with you?
So my company is called Vaughan Herold, and I'm going to spell it out because
Because it's not VON.
no, it's VaughanHerold. So VaughanHerold.com has all my contact information and links to my socials and.
And what
So-
social media are you on? You're on
I'm
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, and that's about it. I mean,
No Facebook?
technically I'm on Facebook,
But that's
but
not-
I don't
okay,
do
I
so
gotcha.
much there.
So LinkedIn and Instagram,
Yep,
right?
that's
And you
where
have
you
your
can find
website.
me. Got my website,
Okay.
and so and I link to the books that I'm reading or podcasts that I'm listening to if people want to hear or get suggestions on some of the things that I'm enjoying. And
Okay.
I dork out on all the how we're wired and personal development stuff. So yeah, be warned.
Well, I am so glad. So here's my thought now. My thought as I'm thinking about all of this is we may want to go down, maybe do a workshop.
Yeah.
So in the Empower series, we do on the second Saturday of every month, we have a workshop at the Houston Area Urban League,
Okay.
right? And then on the third Saturday of every month, we have a workshop here in Dallas at the Highland Hills Library.
Yeah.
The Friday before, we have a lunch and learn at the Meadows Conference Center, except for the month of March, where I've got to find a location.
Gotcha.
Because the Meadows Conference Center wasn't ready. But every month we have a different topic. So in January we talked about vision and goal setting. In February we talked about entrepreneurship. In the month of March, we're talking about credit and understanding your credit.
Okay.
In April is financial literacy. In May, we're going to talk about finding access for money to go to college, like scholarships.
Great.
In June is always National Home Ownership Month. We're going to talk about getting into a home.
Cool.
In July, we talk about physical fitness because you got to keep it moving.
Yeah.
You know, movement,
Use your
motion. Movement is motion, lotion, or something like that. You just got to keep it moving, right? And then in August, we talk about growth mindset, right? Which is probably a topic like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then in September, it's life insurance. In October, is estate planning. In November, we wrap it all together. So I say that to say I'm going to respectfully ask for more of your life.
Thank you.
So, because I'm thinking we can go even deeper with this and do a workshop to give people some tangible things to really walk away with and apply in their lives.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to do that?
I'd be happy.
I'm putting you on spot like this.
You can put me on the spot. I'm moving back to Atlanta in a couple of months.
Are you serious?
I am, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So, okay, so my aunt lives in Atlanta.
Yeah. We can do it at her house.
So is it what brought you to Dallas? Was it your job or
My
your
husband's
husband?
job.
And what's bringing you back to Atlanta?
My husband's job.
Okay.
And I can work anywhere because I have clients all over the country.
Okay, that's cool. So you're leaving. Okay, we got to get this book then. What month are you leaving to go back to Atlanta?
End of May.
Snap.
Yeah.
Snap. That wasn't the first word I was going to use. But
Good self-management there.
Okay. Well, hey. Well, maybe we can work something out.
Yeah.
We can work something out. That's exciting that you're going back to Atlanta. Now, where are you originally from?
Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, my fam's there, so.
ATM. What about your husband? Where's he from?
He's from Western Pennsylvania.
Ah.
Yeah, so he grew up in a small farming town called Butler, Pennsylvania.
Okay, well, I may be going back to Pennsylvania. I may be going to Villanova.
Oh, really?
Because I just finished my master's in public administration. I finished all of my coursework.
Good for you, congrats.
On the 14th of March, I have my comp exam, so I won't be walking if I don't pass my comp, so I'm not going to.
Okay.
Wait, my outcome?
Wait.
So I'm going to pass,
well,
right?
you're going to pass.
Right. We just talked about the
Yes.
kind of questions.
Where are you putting your focus?
Yeah, and so my graduation date is May 16th, and I didn't walk for my undergrad. I did not walk for that. My mom passed away just like the quarter before, and I just didn't feel like walking. Yeah. And so this time around, it's not a big deal, but I'm thinking I might want to walk to take some
strut.
pictures.
You don't walk, you strut. I love it.
So I'll be in your husband's
in his home state.
Home state.
Yeah, that's great. Well, congrats to you. That's exciting.
Well, I feel so blessed that you were able to share your wisdom of the 3 vital questions.
Thanks for having
right?
me.
And hopefully you guys got a lot of value out of this. If you look at it again, I'm going to look at it again, take some notes.
Yeah.
More importantly, share this. So share this video, like it, and share it, because there's people out there who are looking for answers, and the only way they're going to find it is if you share it with them. The reason why people don't know enough about the Empower series is that everybody who does hasn't told somebody else yet.
Yep.
Now, for those of you who are telling people, I want to thank you. Again, I want to thank you for your time. You have spent your most precious resource, which is your life, watching this podcast. So the dividends that you'll get from that, I hope, will far exceed anything that you could imagine. So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank Comerica Bank again for their financial support and their guidance and their long-term relationship in helping us raise our expectations of what's possible. AE Media Group, I want to thank all of you for your generous donations. If it wasn't for your generous donations, programs like this could not be produced. So this is free for the public, but it's not free to put on. So we are always looking for sponsors. If you're interested in being a part of this, definitely reach out to us. If you want to donate as an individual, you can go to our website, which is www.empowerseries.com. Click on the donate button in the top right-hand corner, or you can text give or donate to 214-225-6337, or just come to the Empower Series and give, right? But for all of you who are giving your time, volunteering and everything, so thank you very much. Thank you again.
Thank you for
We're going to be
having me.
thanking everybody else.
Thank you for having me. It's been a joy.
Oh my gosh, this is great. This is great. Now I'm going to, take some more notes.
All right.
And learn some more by this.
Thank you.
So hey, until we meet again, I want you to be empowered and inspired to thrive.